everybody, my name is Dr. Sandman. I hope that all of you are doing well. Today I have another mug muttering video for you guys. If you are not familiar with my mug muttering series, it's basically a thinly veiled attempt at showing you my mug collection. I know this one's not a mug today, but get over it. And I have a sip of whatever, and I just get stuff off my chest. Today's mug is this goblet that my friend Bonnie gave me for my birthday, so hi Bonnie, I love you. And the boire du jour is great value butterbeer, like from Harry Potter, but not on brand. So, salut. So back in high school, there was a conundrum. There was an issue. I had a little problem. I had a teacher who, okay, so this teacher, I need to give some background information because she was not a bad person fully, and I do not feel guilty disclosing her name because in this story she didn't do anything technically wrong. She had a moment of bad judgment. I had this teacher, she's an English teacher, named Mrs. Reader. Take that in for a moment. No, you heard me right. Mrs. Reader, like reading. She was an English teacher. If there's a more pretentious English teacher name out there, let me know because I'm sure I'd love to hear it. So I mostly liked this teacher. I think that she was pretty cool. She's very helpful to me most of the time. She liked my writing and my work most of the time. She was very supportive of my work. Which was nice because I didn't have any support from any of my other teachers. She was very cool most of the time. Sometimes she would lightly read me in class. Oh my god, that's why her name was Reader, because she was constantly reading her students. She would, like, it makes very, very subtle jabs at me at class. There was no malice to it, but I was like, you don't put your students on the spot like that. So I had this teacher for a couple classes before senior year, and in senior year you had to take 2 English classes. They were both half a year long, so they added up to one full English course, and everybody had a choice. There were a number of courses that you could pick from. I picked Greek mythology, and the other class that I chose was science fiction literature because have you met me? If you can't tell by the Back to the Future poster. I really love science fiction, and I have for a long time. So I was like, hell yeah, brother, I'd love to take that class. And at the end of the day, I did really love that class. We read the coolest stuff. I'm actually considering purchasing the textbook, like repurchasing the textbook that we used from it because it just had so many good short stories in it. And all the time, in all my classes, my teachers would eventually just get the memo that I would not be speaking in class. I was a very quiet student. I did not speak at all. I spoke to my friends during lunch and like when we saw each other in the hall and like after school. But aside from that, there were a very select few classes that I spoke in. One was French because I had to. Another one was music because I felt so comfortable in that class and I really loved the teacher. And sociology for reasons. I'll get to that in another video maybe one day. And that's it. My teachers would often just understand at some point, oh, Raven's not gonna talk at all, okay, because they would call on me and I'd go, I would choke. I wouldn't know what to say. Sometimes no noise would come out. I would just stare at them, afraid, gay fear. Mrs. Reader picked up on this very quickly, and somebody during class one time, this is one of the times that she like subtly like roasted me, somebody said, hey, how come Raven's not answering any of the questions, or how come you're not picking on Raven to answer a question? And she goes, oh, because Raven will not talk. And she could have left it at that. She kept going and she turned away and she said, Raven is utterly silent. And that was so unnecessary, Mrs. Reader. I hope you're watching this. That was so unnecessary. There was one project that everybody had to do, and it was to pick a short story out of our textbook that we hadn't read together as a class yet and basically be the teacher for the day. So we had to read our own short stories. I think we got to pick. Oh yeah, we definitely got to pick. And I picked, sorry, Sorry, I'm getting like PTSD from this because this is so traumatic. I picked The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. So in this science fiction textbook, there was also a short section for fantasy and a shorter section for horror. And those were both on the table. We could pick those if we wanted. So I picked, obviously the Edgar Allan Poe one because Have You Met Me? Oh God, sorry. I'm so humiliated. I'm not embarrassed about the story. I'm just so shook by it. I have a visceral reaction thinking about this every time. The assignment was to read your story that you selected and analyze it as best as you could and have some predetermined thoughts on it to share with the class and some kind of analysis for it of what you thought that it meant, the significance that it had during the time period, and everything, the commentary that it was making basically, and amongst other things. And overall, there kind of was no right answer for all of it. It was just what you got from it, but you had to present your findings with the class, and the night before your presentation, it was assigned to the whole class for everyone to read your story so they would all be caught up. And after you presented what you got from it, then it would be open discussion and you would facilitate it. If you're putting two and two together, you know that this was not possible for me because I did not speak. The day she assigned this, I went up to her after class, terrified, and I said, "Can I please do anything else? I don't want to get out of work. I just want to do not that." And she goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "If I get up there in front of the class and try to have a conversation with them, I will faint. I won't be able to take it." And she said, "Is it really that bad?" And I said, "Yeah, it's that bad." And she said, "Okay." She goes, "It's a lot more work." I said, "That's fine." And she goes, "Okay, so you're gonna do basically what you would do if you were participating in this, just written. So I need I don't even remember how many pages it was. I think it was 5 pages, which is nothing. I don't know why she thought it was a lot. But she said 5 pages of your thorough analysis of the story that you picked." And I said, "You got it." And I worked really hard on this. I stayed up really late for like a few nights working on this. And I was, God, you guys, I was so proud. Sorry, I'm just getting flashbacks. I was so proud of what I had written and I handed it in. God, oh my God, I hate remembering this. I went into class and after she had graded it and she handed it back to me, and I looked at it and it had a 0 on the top. And I looked at her like, "What?" And she said, "You plagiarized this." Sorry, my mind is just reeling from remembering this. And she said, I remember the website that she said too. This is how drilled into my memory this is. She goes, "You plagiarized from Schmoop," which is a fucking weird website name, .com. And that's where you got your main carrying point. You plagiarize. I can't accept this. You get a 0 for this project. And this project was a lot of our grade. And I was like, I didn't plagiarize. And she goes, "Yes, you did." And then she goes, here, like all this whole section, this place, you all got from Schmoop. I was so shocked and unable to speak. And she didn't make a scene out of this. To her credit, she did not draw attention to this so that the class is like watching. This is like a private like conversation. But I was gutted. So you might be wondering, why did she think that you plagiarized? One of my main points for my analysis had a lot to do with, if you've ever read The Fall of the House of Usher, there's a character in it who has this illness, and it's a very important theme carried through it. It's referenced so much during the story, and it's very like in your face about this specific illness. And so what I did was I was writing my analysis, and I was talking about this disease that this woman had, and I kept being like, this doesn't flow right, this is too clunky, saying like the disease of this character, the mysterious illness of this character's name, forget her name because I haven't read it since. So what I did was I typed in all the what do you call them, the symptoms to Google, because it was a real disease, it wasn't a fictitious thing. So I typed in all the symptoms to see if, like, I was expecting to find like this might be a blood disease, just anything to shorten it. And what happened was I found the exact illness that she had, and then I kept reading about it just to make sure that it was what was being talked about in the book, or in the short story rather, because the name of the disease was never mentioned. So I just wanted to shorten it just so I could make my paper flow better. And I kept reading about it, and I found a website that said this disease is particularly well known because it was referenced in Edgar Allan Poe's Fall of the House of Usher. So I was like, oh, perfect! That's definitely, now I know this is what it is, and now I can call it by what it is. Don't do that. If you're in high school and you're writing, don't do that. Because I knew what the disease was called, and it was never mentioned in the story. She's like, how could Raven have known this? And she looked it up, and apparently on a website, it's what's the other website? There's another more famous website that people use to plagiarize, that I did use all the time. Not to plagiarize, but like when I didn't read the book and I wanted to know what people were talking about. But it's one of those websites that is like very popular for students to use when they just don't want to read the material. And there was an analysis on this website that was very similar to what I had to say, and it said the name of the disease. So she's like, you could not have thought of this yourself? You're too stupid. So I was so upset about this. Afterwards, I texted my friend Clara about this. I texted her. She, at the time she had moved, she lived in Maine, so she was a few states away from me. And I texted her and told her everything that was happening, and I was expressing just how upset I was. I'd worked so hard on the paper. I couldn't believe that she had given me a 0. I also couldn't believe that she would not let me vouch for myself when I said that I had written it all by myself, and that I hadn't plagiarized and I didn't know what to do. And she goes, do you want me to do something? Like, do you want me to like call the principal or like call her manager? Like, I said, no, I don't want this to be a bigger problem than it is. I don't want to get in more trouble, and I just want to forget about it. I'll accept the grade. A couple days later, I am in another class, and somebody calls the teacher's room and said, hey, Raven, can you go to like Miss Reader's class? And I was like, yeah. And I thought I was in more trouble, honestly. And so I showed up to Mrs. Reader's class. She was not having a class, and we stepped outside of her room and into the hallway, and she goes, I would like to apologize. I'm like, interesting. She goes, I may have been too harsh on you. And she said, I'm willing to let you redo the assignment with a different short story because I don't want to give you a 0. And I said, seriously? Because at that point I was just like, okay, I'm not getting a 0. that was what I was concerned about. And I said, yeah, I'd love to do that. And she goes, here's the thing, I'm picking the short story for you. And I said, that's fine, I'm happy to do it. And I remember this one too, the Poseidonia, or the something of the Poseidonia. Again, only read it the one time, and it was a very, it did not interest me that much. It was cool, it was a nice short story, but I just, it was no Edgar Allan Poe, and it was no Jules Verne, so I was whatever about it, but it's all the same. I was like, yes, I would love to do this. and I would be so grateful for the opportunity to not get a fucking 0, which was your choice. And she said, great. And she goes, I'm so sorry I was so harsh. And I said, yeah, I appreciate this. I want you to know I really didn't plagiarize. And as I was saying that, she cut me off and she said, she cut me off and she goes, it's okay, I forgive you. I was so mad at her. I was like, I'm trying to tell you that I didn't do it. And you're like, I forgive you. I'm like, I didn't fucking do it. You're not gonna forgive me for something I didn't do. So I have this new assignment and she goes, would you like me to give you a hug? And I'm like, in my head I was like, fucking no, bitch. You're calling me a liar, so I don't wanna. But I was also a very awkward student and I didn't know how to say no, so I was like, sure. And she gave me a hug. And as I'm hugging her, I look past her shoulder and there's another one of my teachers who sees us and she goes, I went, she goes into her room. I was just like, I don't know what the fuck is happening. And so she tells me when the paper is due. She gives me like a week and a half to do it, and I was like, thank you again for letting me redo it. After I left, I started texting my friend Clara again. I said, Clara, you're not gonna guess. She goes, what? I said, Mrs. Reader's gonna let me redo the project. She goes, oh, that's awesome. And I'm like, why are you talking like that? And a couple days later, I was telling her about it again. I said, oh, I'm just so glad that she let me redo it. And she said, I have a confession to make. I said, what'd you do? And she goes, I called the school. My friend in another state who was also in high school at the time, during her lunch break, called the school and got transferred to my teacher and said, you better let Raven slide on this. And at first, she told me all that. She said at first she was very standoffish. She said, we had a very brief conversation about it. Raven did not stand up for himself, and because he knew what he did was wrong, which was not true. I wasn't given the opportunity to speak for myself. And Clara basically guilted her. She said, well, Raven's really upset about this, and Raven worked really hard on it, and he doesn't understand why you gave him a 0. And she basically like bitched her out and said like, fuck you, you're a bad teacher. And then Mrs. Reader was quiet for a minute. She tells me, she goes, maybe I can do something. You know, you're a really good friend. And Clara's like, whatever, just fuck you, just let him redo it. Get you a friend who will call your school and ream out a teacher until they give you a good grade. I got to redo it, and I did the project, and I handed it in, and I got a B, which was weak. You want to know why I got a B? Is because I didn't give an analysis on a theme that she thought was more prevalent than what I wrote about, which is fine. That's the time that I was accused of plagiarism, did not plagiarize, and still got a B out of it. Is there a lesson from this story? No, not at all. Do I hate that teacher? No, but I'm still bitter about that. Like, overall, I still liked her because she was, like, overall the years that I had her as a teacher, she was pretty cool. But I'm still bitter about this story. I'm still bitter about this one incident. That is the story. I hope it was remotely interesting. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment if you'd like. Subscribe for more videos. And I will leave all my social media and links in the description below. Thank you for watching. Hope your teachers aren't bitches. Bye.